I think it tells you that they've more or less given up on their efforts in the Eastern District of Virginia, which, as you know and as your viewers know, really struggled in their prosecutions of James Comey and Letitia James. You know, those cases basically have had about a half dozen reasons to fall apart and fell apart on just one of them. So even if that gets revived on appeal, there's all sorts of reasons why that could fail. So it seems like they've tried to move the effort to go after Trump's political opponents in a potentially more favorable jurisdiction, the Southern District of Florida. But even from the get-go, they're going to have challenges, starting with that jurisdictional question, which is, you know, if this is a grand conspiracy about an investigation into Donald Trump in the 2016 election, and let's assume for the hypothetical that all the things that they're alleging are true, well, all those crimes occurred in Washington, D.C., not in the Southern District of Florida. So right out of the bat, you're going to have a jurisdictional problem. But on top of that, you're going to have some statute of limitation problems, which, again, let's assume that everything that they're alleging or investigating was, in fact, a crime. Those would have been crimes that occurred nearly a decade ago. Most federal statutes of limitations are 5 years. So, you know, it seems like they're struggling in their old jurisdiction. It seems like they're going to struggle in this jurisdiction, too.
I guess from my perspective, a lot of this, Tim, is the typical fodder. You know, counsel here has just laid out the legal hurdles that this made-up prosecution or investigation or whatever the hell they call it. What'd you say it was, Simone? A grand conspiracy?
A grand conspiracy.
Grand conspiracy. Yeah, okay. The grand conspiracy took place when no one gave a damn about Donald Trump because no one thought he was going to win the presidency in 2016, including Donald Trump. So all this grand conspiracy to take out a guy who nobody thought was going to win, no one focused that kind of energy on this man. The most energy was focused around the Axios, the Access Hollywood tape thing. I mean, so my point is, why are we here? And I think the politics is driving this more than the law. I think Epstein files drives this. I think a flailing about administration in Iran drives a lot of this. This sort of hook and ladder, let's sort of grab what we can to put the fire out on our terms when there is no fire, makes no sense to me. Help me make sense, as my friend Simone would say.
Well, yeah, I think the grand conspiracy here doesn't involve Jim Comey or anyone else. The grand conspiracy here involves the current White House, the current Justice Department, and the current FBI. And what they're essentially doing is they are, servants in Donald Trump's effort to go on a revenge and retribution tour. That explains most of this. You know, there's three big components there. There's obviously the Russiagate investigation back in Trump's first term, and then the two subsequent investigations, the classified documents investigation and the 2020 election investigation. They're all different. But if you just look at what Comey appears to be being subpoenaed about solely is that first term investigation on Russiagate. Remember that the FBI's own Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, investigated the fact pattern around all of this with the support of Republicans in Congress and Donald Trump in the White House. And in 2019, he produced a report saying that the FBI's investigation wasn't motivated by political bias, that they proceeded by and large with some flaws in a very straightforward manner. The only sort of rabbit he could pull out of his hat was that the Steele dossier was used inappropriately to issue a FISA warrant against Carter Page, one long ago member of the Trump circle. That was the only meaningful way the Steele dossier played a role in any of this.
And I had nothing to do with that, by the way, just so we're clear.
I know, different Steele.
I got blamed. Oh, my God. Everyone thought I was the Steele. It wasn't me.
You're everywhere, Michael.
It was Christopher Steele.
But this has been amply investigated. There is no there. And in fact, there were very good reasons for the federal government to be concerned about Trump and the Trump campaign's intersection with Russians. Democrats' computers were hacked during the 2016 campaign. Donald Trump's son, Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort met with a Russian lawyer in Trump Tower who claimed to have dirt on Hillary Clinton. Vladimir Putin personally signed off on Internet trolls who were planting fake news on U.S. websites. All of this, it didn't amount to a criminal conspiracy, but it did amount to a very vivid intersection that deserved an examination by federal investigators, and they were just doing their job.